So the discussion today is protests in Nigeria, as I said. Protests have been happening in different parts of the country. They are usually organized by civil society groups or people with a common goal who have decided to demand their rights from the government through a demonstration. Joining us to discuss this topic today, we have
with us in the studio a lawyer, a historian, two-time minister, former special advisor to the president, and an activist, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode. Welcome to the Weekend Show, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. So when we see protests like Bring Back Our Girls or Bring Back the Dapchi Girls, the government, yes, was irritated about protests like that at the time, but they didn't ban it. They knew it was the fundamental right of every citizen to protest. But when we see protests now, like the Islamic movement of Nigeria and Revolution now, the government is saying this sort of differs from protests like that. This is calling for an overhaul of the government, IPOB. They're looking to the government is looking to prescribe groups like this because they're calling for an overhaul of the government and they're not gathering for the betterment of the people. What is your response to that?
Well, first of all, you have to understand the nature of the government we're dealing with. They don't mind people gathering at Unity Fountain to protest about Chibok girls because they feel that that really is no threat to their position, and that is not something they need to worry too much about. When people talk about Dapchi girls, the same thing. It's distant, it's far from them, they're disconnected. It really doesn't matter to them. The problem they have is when people start to protest about their performance in government and what they are not doing, which they're supposed to be doing. And what they fail to appreciate is that protest, demonstration, and dissent is a fundamental aspect of any democratic setting. It's the soul of democracy, it's the strength of democracy. The fact that you can go out and you can say, I don't like what my government is doing. I will criticize the government. I will walk in the streets. I will march in the streets. And I'll carry my placard and I'll say no. That is democracy for you. And it happens everywhere else in the world. But here in Nigeria, we have a very peculiar version of democracy, a very peculiar government that frowns on that, that says you're not allowed to express yourself. And the minute you begin to express yourself and say the sort of things they don't like, they will prescribe you and describe you as a terrorist, and they will begin to lock you up and harass you, possibly charge you with treason and things like that, because they feel threatened by ideas and by communication, by protest and by democracy. And that's why many of us feel, and we have felt right from the start, and said it over the last 4 years, that this is precisely what would manifest under a Buhari presidency. These people are not Democrats. These people are dictators. They cannot fathom the whole idea of dissent, and they cannot tolerate it. It's been done to IPOB, in my view, completely illegally. It's been done to IMN illegally. It's been done to the Otoge movement in Lagos, in the southwestern region of Nigeria, illegally. It's been done to the Revolution Now group illegally. And it'll continue to be like that because this is a government that is weak, it is paranoid, they feel threatened by dissent and by opposition. And it's been done, let me just end with this, and a lot of people forget this. This has been done for the last 4 years to the official opposition, of which many of our members are still in detention, including Dasuki, against court orders and so on and so forth. But because we are just politicians, nobody seems to care about that, forgetting that you need politicians to merge with activists, to merge with people in the civil society groups, to challenge any government that manifests dictatorial tendencies like this one.
But if you look through our history, the last major protest which we had in Nigeria in 2012, where they occupied Nigeria against fuel subsidy, and it was large scale, it was nationwide.
Absolutely.
Now you come to modern times, it is the duty of the government to protect lives and property.
Yes.
The fact also stands that with IMN and with Revolution Now, there has been an element of crime or wrongdoing on the part of some of the organizers or participants. So with IMN, for instance, we've seen videos of cars being destroyed. We've seen people being shot. We don't know if it's from the police or from them. Also with Revolution Now, a video or pictures of the convener, Yele Sowore, defacing public property. Doesn't this take away the right of them as being peaceful protesters to now almost rioting?
Let me explain this, and this needs to be, because you've stated the case that the government or dictators always state that, look, we are charged by law to ensure that there is order people do not indulge in violence, people do not involve themselves in criminal activities. And I, for one, would never advocate violence. I don't believe in violence, unless, of course, it's self-defense. I don't believe in violence, and I would never tolerate it or accept it. I've been in government many, many years ago, and I know that it's the government's duty to ensure that there is no violence, there is no threat to the peace, there are no criminal activities, and there's no threat to the government in terms of insurrection and so on and so forth. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is defending that. However, where you have a situation where people go out on a legitimate demonstration and a few of them misbehave, or a few of them feel that maybe the police has shot live bullets at them and get angry and burn a few cars, not right, criminal, and it is wrong, you don't get up and say that that whole organization is proscribed, which is what happened in the case of IMN. In the case of IPOB, it's even worse. You killed thousands of them over the last 4 years, and we mustn't forget this. You see, blood is precious. You killed them over the last 4 years. We all know this. Nigerians don't like to talk about it, forgetting that it's IPOB today. It could be you tomorrow, God forbid. It could be any of us tomorrow. But the truth is that they were killed over the last 4 years. Their leader was charged with treason and dumped in jail and treated in a horrendous manner. And that has been the habit of this government for any group that they are not comfortable with. Now, what did they do? They said they want to exercise their right of self-determination. They want a referendum about whether or not they'll be part of Nigeria and they're part of the country. That is a legitimate aspiration in a democratic setting. People may not agree with them. I mean, the bottom line in a democracy is this: you are entitled to speak whatever you like, say whatever you like. Even if I believe that my local government area in Ile-Ife should break off from Nigeria, I should be able to say so without any fear of being arrested. That is democracy. And let me end with this. Go all over the world. Today, go to Hong Kong.
For 2 months.
You know, go to Hong Kong. See what is happening. Hong Kong is part of communist China, one of the most repressive, reactionary governments in the world. And yet, because of the two-system policy they have there, look at what's happening in Hong Kong. They took over the whole airport for the last few days. They've been protesting. The governor of Hong Kong had to withdraw the legislation they complained about. They said it's not enough. The governor must resign. And there they are, expressing themselves, indulging in what I call a pure form of democracy. Not just Hong Kong. Go to Tunisia. Go to see what happened in Tunisia. See what happened in Libya. See what's happening in Sudan. See what happened in Iraq before things changed. This is a legitimate protest. These are legitimate. And it has happened everywhere else in the world. America, the United Kingdom, Western Europe, throughout the world. That